Hello sailors, I'm Captain Tom Tersey from the Maryland School of Sailing and Seamanship, and I'd like to show you a bridle, a docking bridle that I use for docking alongside on a pier. And this is a method that you can use double-handed or single-handed, and it uses a 50-foot length of line. This is a 40-foot boat, so it uses a 50-foot length of line, and what I'm going to do is measure out 20 feet. So here's 6, 12, 18, and a couple more, and I make a bite in the line about 2 feet long, and then I just tie a simple overhand knot in here, and it gives me this loop in the line, and I can either drop this on a piling or drop it on a dock cleat, dock piling or dock cleat, okay? All right, so then I'm going to take this loop and bring it up to the bow pulpit and do a temporary tie right here so that we can pick it up in a few minutes when we get to that point. And I just put a half hitch in there, and then I'll stretch the longer leg back to the midship cleat and tie it off there. Over the lifeline, outboard of everything, back to the midship cleat, and I'm going to pull it snug. I'm not going to make it real tight. This is on the cleat, okay. Nice cleat hitch there. And I'll take the short leg and tie it into the bow cleat here. This parallel docking maneuver would generally be used when the wind or water current are pushing the boat away from the dock. This boat has a right-hand turning propeller in forward gear, and this means that the stern of the boat will walk to port, to the left, when in reverse gear. Prior to dock approach, we pre-rig the docking bridle on port side as previously shown. As we approach the dock, we stand off about a boat length away and make a 45-degree turn to port toward the target piling, intending to put that piling on port side of the bow pulpit. When within reach, the foredeck crew member places the loop of the bridle over the piling, and the helmsman shifts the engine to reverse gear and throttles up, pulling the boat astern. This tightens the midship spring line of the bridle and causes the boat to gradually move toward the dock and parallel to the dock. This speed of movement toward the dock can be closely controlled by regulating engine speed. Even in strong wind or current conditions, increasing engine speed can generally overcome these forces. The bow line will be kept slack during this backing maneuver in order to allow the midship forward leading spring line to control the maneuver. The bow line will be adjusted later. Let's look at another diagram showing the forces acting on the boat during this maneuver. In this view, the red arrow going astern represents the propeller force in reverse gear that is pulling the boat backward. It actually tilts slightly to port due to propeller walk in reverse gear. The red arrow going forward is the restraining force of the midship spring line attached to the dock. The athwart-ship distance between these two forces, represented by the green line, is the lever arm acting to turn the boat in response to these two forces. The black fore and aft line is the boat center line. The small red circle is the location of the center of gravity, or center of weight, of the boat. When a boat changes heading under power, it actually rotates about its center of gravity, or thereabouts. The strength of the force turning the boat's heading is the product of the propeller astern force and the length of the green lever arm. This turning force will be partly offset by any wind or current resisting the turn, as represented by the blue arrow. Some mariners will use the bow line on the boat when parallel docking, as shown here. but this will apply little to no turning force to bring the stern toward the dock, since there is virtually no lever arm acting between the two forces. They are almost in line and are just pulling against each other. The midship spring line is an essential in this and many other docking scenarios, and every cruising boat should be equipped with midship cleats from which to rig spring lines both fore and aft. Now let's take a look at docking a 40-foot sailboat navigator parallel to a fixed dock with pilings above the dock level. The procedures used will be the same for a dock with cleats, whether the dock is fixed or floating. Navigator approaches a fixed dock with pilings and no cleats. Navigator starts to turn in towards the target piling, while the deckhand points out the target piling and the distance to it. Six feet, she says. Deckhand leans over and places the loop of the bridle on the piling.
Reverse.
Tells the helm to reverse. Clears the bridle so it doesn't foul on any stanchion. So you can see now the forward spring line tensioning up, and you can see the bow line is slack. It's hanging down. Helm continues in reverse, tensions the forward spring, and you can still see the bow line is slack. And this is so that the bow line does not take control of the docking maneuver. Now that the boat has contacted the pier at the stern, the deckhand will trim in the bow line.
That helps.
She's pulling it in to pull the bow towards the dock and then recleats it. This is a single-handed docking maneuver, and notice that the deckhand is standing back, not assisting. So the boat is now heading in at about a roughly 30 to 45 degree angle in towards the target piling, nestles up against that piling. Captain steps out of the cockpit, heads forward, picks up the loop, places it over that piling, heads back to the cockpit, where he will put the engine in reverse to pull the boat backwards against the midship spring line of the bridle, and these two forces will turn the stern of the boat in towards the pier. As you can see here, it's very, very gradually moving in under a very controlled situation. The rudder has no effect whatsoever in this maneuver. It's all in the engine and the spring line of the bridle. The boat is now nestling up against the dock pilings. Captain steps ashore. Engine is still in reverse. He picks up the stern docking line and secures it. Captain steps back aboard, puts the engine in neutral, and goes forward to trim the bow line. So that's the story on the docking bridle, and I thank you for participating.